welcome to the show. I'm Sal. I'm talking. Fuck. All right, one more time.
keep it in. Keep it in.
That's it. Welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange, everybody. Chip Zdarsky's here. Thanks for being here, man. I love it. We have we do have something to promote. I was like, we have nothing to promote, but no, because you caught my eye recently. Obviously, we've been talking about you caught my eye. But no,
my goodness.
We were talking recently at New York Comic Con about doing something about having you back on the show, and the Omnibus is here. The Spider-Man Chip Zdarsky Omnibus is here. And
what, this thing?
Oh my god!
My desk just shakes.
It did, yes.
Down.
Oh my god!
Ooh,
yeah,
so thick.
Yeah, I admit I haven't bought it yet because it is the holiday season. It may be a gift.
Yeah, hey, there you go. There you go.
But if you guys are looking for gifts, folk, In Stock Trades has it for like, I don't know, I think like 50%, 40% off, something like that. It's like surprising.
It's a hefty bad boy. Like, I didn't know what the price was until it showed up on my doorstep.
Yeah. I think in your video you said it's like $1 million.
Yeah. The video is $1 million, but it's $125 for like 960 pages.
That's not bad. That's actually a really good. That's a good deal.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all.
I didn't even know they were collecting. Like, it's just the Zdarsky run. It's just all your Spider-Man stuff, just jam packed into one.
Yeah. It was weird just because I didn't realize I'd written that much Spider-Man. But you add it all up, and it's a little wild.
Yeah.
The only thing that's not in here is a 2-page Spider-Man comic that I drew and kind of co-wrote with Donny Cates and Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, the Spider.
I think. Yeah, which is super fun.
That's a shame.
I know, but it's like I didn't really technically write it. Like, this is just kind of all my writing, so I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe they should pulp it. Just pulp it.
Just start over.
Start over. Put the other 2 pages in.
I know Marvel is famous for doing that kind of thing where they love to waste money.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Yeah. But the one thing I didn't realize this until I posted my video and all the comments kind of showed up, because again I stay offline, is that I didn't realize that my design on the front looks like a ketchup bottle squirting out ketchup.
Huh? Yeah. Wow, it really does. Oh no!
I know.
From afar. Yeah. No.
From afar. Yeah.
That is uncanny.
Yeah,
because I love that cover. That's
I know,
beautiful
but people
use
kept
of negative
calling
space.
People kept calling it the ketchup design. I'm like, ketchup? Like, there's red on it, but it's not ketchup. And then when I squinted in, I saw. Oh, wait a second. Oh yeah, just like. Oh well, back to design school for me.
Yeah, I love that you do your own designs. I love that you take this graphical background and you insert it into your own work. It's like, man, it's not enough that you know how to write and draw. You also have to have like good graphic design skills. Like, god damn it.
It's a control freak thing for sure, because I just want to make sure everything looks the way I want it to look. And just to make it look different. Like, like I like the other versions of the various covers for this. Like, they've got like the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 1 with Peter opening his the Kubert one, and there's another one with a Jameson. And those are lovely, but they're just not they're not intended for books. They're intended for single issues, and it really feels that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well, we've talked before about how like it stands. You want something that's gonna like pop off the shelf. It's gonna like just differentiate itself completely. You know what it reminds me of is those Chip Kid Convergence covers back in the day.
Yeah.
Where there was just this incredible graphical decision that no one else would have even thought to do, and it looked immediately. You knew exactly what it was, or even didn't know what it was, but you were like, I gotta reach for it. Life Story covers were all like that, where it was like, oh, that's something different.
I think it's a real subconscious thing. That's a discussion I have a lot with the companies, where like design sells stuff even if the audience doesn't realize it. They'll pick a thing up if it like catches their eye. Like I think the X-Men, the redesign when they did like House of X and Powers of 10, like I think that's one of the most successful brand redesigns probably ever in comics. Like, everything was unified, everything looked modern and cool, and like you had no choice but to at least pick it up and check it out.
That's right. No, I am routinely impressed every time I see the NX book that they have managed to stick to a cohesive, unified graphic style that is distinctly of the time. I'm not worried. It's more like, I hope it sticks. Not necessarily this design, but like that concept.
Yeah, the idea of doing distinct designs for a line, I think.
Right.
is a good idea. Like I think most books are probably because there are like there's separate offices for each thing at Marvel and at DC. You know, it's the Batman
Yeah,
books and the Superman titles, and then the hero titles, the Spider-Man titles, the X-Men titles. Like, yeah.
yeah,
Usually, if you're buying one of those, you're kind of in for the rest. So
yeah,
like, make them feel unified.
totally.
Yeah, yeah.
So you said, I believe, at some point in your history that you would
In my
punch
history,
someone. Yes, in the history of this of your connection with this show, you said you would punch someone to get Batman. And so now that you are on Batman, I wanted to know who received the beating.
I did. I beat myself. Uh, Should rephrase. Um,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it was a real monkey's paw thing because when they offered it to me, I didn't have the time to take it on, so I
Mm,
turned them down. Like, well, I basically said like it was a weird one because it was sudden because James was leaving
yeah,
because he just got the Substack deal.
right.
But also I just got a Substack deal, and
Exactly.
so yeah, when I got the yeah, I think Marie and Marie Javins and Ben Abernathy wanted to have a Zoom with me, and I just remember looking at my wife and being like, "Oh fuck, they're gonna offer me Batman. Oh fuck, this is the worst possible time." It's because I was just starting to draw public domain too. I'm just like, I have no time. There's no time.
Yeah.
and and yeah, that was basically it. Like I got on the Zoom and I think they saw me just like this. I was just like holding my head, and they're like, "Oh, hey Jeff, how you doing?" I'm like, "Not good, not good," because I think you're gonna offer me Batman. And they're like, "Well, yeah, that is what's happening." And I'm like,
Yeah. Normally
I,
people are pretty
"Yeah,
excited when they hear that, but you seem the opposite. You're
it
like,
was,
"Yeah, no,
yeah.
I
I mean,
want it. I'm just, you know."
yeah, it was both. Like I was like over the moon with excitement about the idea, but also just like crushed by the fact that I didn't think I could do it. So yeah, I didn't say yes right away. I took off and basically said like, if I have the story that makes sense for me and excites me, then I'll do it. And they're like, all
Right.
right, we'll give you a little bit of time, but not a lot. And
But,
so I went.
don't
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
by
yeah.
the
They had
phone.
they had a list. I'm sure like a ton of people turned it down before it got to me. But yeah, yeah. And I went away and I thought about it, and then I started to get the germ of like the failsafe idea. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is a story I want to tell. So I
Yeah.
said yes, and I told my wife she to kiss me goodbye. And
Yep, I'll see you later. Get in your
yeah, yeah,
office and do everything. Do all
yeah.
that.
Oh God. Yep.
Yeah. Well, now that you're at, like, issue I think we're at coming up on 141.
Yeah.
How do you like it? How you feeling?
It's
Like,
great.
you've been
I mean,
doing you've got, like, what, 3 arcs right now, so
yeah, yeah, and like one of the I mean, I thought there'd be more pressure, but then I kind
mhm.
of realized when I started, I'm like, oh no, it's like any book. Like you sit down, you write a script.
Yeah.
There's a little voice in the back of my head that's just like DC Comics relies on this to keep their lights on.
Yeah.
Like there is a little bit of that, but also I'm just like, well, I'm doing the best I can. If
Right.
they think that I'm not doing a good job, they'll let me know and they'll fire me. Like
Exactly.
like
That's their prerogative. Like, if it does actually, like, affect the bottom line, like, that's for them to worry about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If they think they can bring someone on that'll sell more copies, they'll definitely do that.
Right.
And I kind of just I've had that in the back of my head the whole time, so I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just do it until they tell me to stop doing it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. Like I've just been able to write the Batman stories I want to read, and I was talking to you before we started recording just how like I'm not really online, so so I don't really get the kind of the feedback, good or negative. I get a little
Well,
bit of it on my Substack, but like, but that helps a ton too because I'm just like I'm not worried about what I'm doing or thinking I have to please certain people or upset other people or
yeah.
um, I'm just sitting down and writing the comics I want to read, which is
Right?
yeah,
And, you're also tackling those backups as well, which is
yeah,
a really
yeah,
fun, like, supplement. Normally, if it's like if there is an additional backup in any ongoing series, it's like, "Oh, we'll give, like, some other writer, like, a shot," but this is like,
yeah,
"No, I got more, I got more, I
yeah.
got another
I will
story."
I will give no writers a shot. That is the
Well,
Chip
it's like,
Zdarsky promise.
I know a young hot writer that needs a chance, his name is Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that was a bit of a debate for me because I was just like, I know those backups can be used to kind of elevate other writers and artists. And I was just like, uh, I feel a little shitty about the idea of kind of taking those over, but also I'm like the story. I know the backups can also just be like people can just flip by them. Like I've done it. I've done
Oh,
it for
yeah.
sure, 100%. Like I'll read the main story and then the backup, maybe I'll read it later, and I
I am
never
very
get
guilty of
around to it.
that, yeah.
But like by being the writer on those, I'm like, oh, you have to read this.
Right.
Like this
Yeah.
actually ties into the story. Like it's not just like a supplemental thing. It's like it's part of the narrative.
Right.
So that helps. We're kind of mixing it up too, kind of going down the line. Like there's one instance where the backup comes before the main story. Like
Really?
we're kind of because I'm like,
Like
oh,
a prelude.
yeah, yeah. If we put this here, then we can kind of build up this stuff and then jump into the main. Let Jorge go nuts with the art.
That's fun.
Yeah, yeah. So there's it's fun having the extra pages to kind of work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I've been really enjoying them. This is one of
cool.
those things where I am very much like that, where I'm like, oh, backup, cool. I maybe will read it, but 9 out of 10 times I won't.
Yeah,
But knowing that it was it's part of the story, or at least it's supplementing the story, I'm like, I guess I should give it a shot. And I'm always rewarded for it because it's like, oh,
nice.
it really does enhance the story, or it expands on a concept that like clearly there was no time in the main story to give like oxygen to it.
Yeah,
And that's been always really fun. Like the first encounter of Zurinar versus Joker
yeah, yeah.
is in a backup, and it's like a spectacular story. That
We also got like the best artists on it, like Leonardo Romero.
I know, right?
It helps that there's backups because I think Leonardo was working on like the Spider-Man animated series at the time, so he didn't have a lot of time. So it's just
Mm,
like but it's only like 8 pages
right? And
a
he's like,
month. Like
I could do 8 pages a
okay,
month.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that one especially was just like okay, like we want to get the backstory, we want to get like kind of tee up what's coming down the line. But I found, especially in the first arc, Failsafe was so action heavy. Like we're just boom, boom, boom. Like because I want that feeling of like, oh yeah, Batman can't catch his breath, the reader can't catch their breath.
Yeah, yeah,
So the backups are a way to kind of like catch your breath a little bit.
totally. It
Yeah,
gives
without
me
derailing.
I remember Failsafe gave me this real like nostalgic feeling, and I couldn't pin it down until I saw a variant cover for Failsafe, which I was like, ah, I know exactly what this is, and it was fucking
Another one.
yeah, it was the Venom
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
Spider-Man cover
yeah.
where
Looming
he's
over
hulking
him.
over him. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my god, it reminds me of the old Michelini stories where like
yeah,
Venom just won't leave him alone, and he knows who he is and where he's gonna go, and so it's just like you as Peter are just constantly like
yeah,
looking over your shoulder, and until eventually you end up like on a desert island, and it's like in this one you end
yeah,
up
yeah.
on the friggin' moon.
Yeah, it's true. I know. Yeah, those Venom stories really affected me when I was younger. Like
Yeah.
just that the idea of like the unstoppable creature that like and then later on when JMS and Darmida Jr. did the Moreland stuff in Spider-Man, it was
Mhm.
kind of the same thing where it's just like, oh my
Definitely.
god, like this thing is like you can't beat it. You can't
Yeah,
beat it. And the part of the fun is like trying to piece together how the characters will beat it.
absolutely. I'm always in awe of any writer that's able to put me in a position where I'm like, "It's impossible. Like, there's nothing you can do."
Yeah, yeah,
But knowing that it has to have an ending and knowing that they know how it's going to end and
yeah,
that they're somehow gonna figure it out,
yeah.
that's something that's always like for me, I'm like, "Ah, that's really cool. Way to go.
Woo, we did
Woo,
it.
you did it." It's not just like, and then he died, right before, like at the end of Jaws, like the original Jaws, where it's like, "Oh, he did," and then he just dies.
Yeah,
I can imagine
yeah.
Spielberg being like, we need to zhuzh it up a little bit. Can we hit him with like a bomb or something? I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm digging on Batman. It's really
Cool.
fun. How I know from inside baseball a little bit, not yours, but in
Mm.
relation to Batman and so forth, that it's you can't just say, I'm gonna throw Michael Keaton Batman in there. You can't just say, I'm gonna use Dark Knight Returns Batman.
No, you can't, it turns out.
Now, is that something that you discovered while you were in the process of doing it? Because I'm talking specifically for the readers at home who haven't picked up this story, if you haven't already, the multiversal arc where Batman has to make his way home, uh,
Yeah.
chasing
Yeah, I
after.
mean, I had the idea kind of basically from the start, and, in my outline, I think my editor was like, "Alright, we're gonna have some trouble here." And, so we talked it through, and, he was essentially like, there are certain characters you can use them for 2 panels.
Ooh,
Like that's how much the legal department would be like, "Okay, that's okay."
yeah.
And they didn't explain exactly why, but I think if you go past that, if the characters appear too much, then all of a sudden it triggers payments to maybe the production
Oh,
companies that had
okay.
something to do with it. That's
All
my
right.
guess anyways, my uneducated legal guess.
Is that how they do the math? Where they're like, all right, so two, but like three. What if it's a splash though?
It's like a fair use thing almost. within the
Yeah.
company. Like, you can use a couple lines from a song, but you can't use
Right.
like 3 lines kind of thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't quite cross the threshold. So it's pretty funny. So I found out at the time, like, yeah, the Michael Keaton Batman, you can't more than two panels. Um, definitely cannot show Jack Nicholson as Joker. Like,
Hmm.
Jorge definitely had to redraw that Joker face when he popped
It's
up
I mean,
a few
it
times.
translates. I did not at any
Yeah,
point go, "I don't think that's who that's supposed to be." Like,
yeah,
that
it gives the vibe of Batman '89. But so those were issues. The Arkham games, that was a two-panel situation.
really?
Even Batman '66 was a two-panel situation.
Huh.
So a whole bunch of them. Chris Nolan Batman? No, you can't. You can't
That
actually
was
put
just a
them in.
no.
Yeah, that's just a flat out no.
Interesting.
I think there's something in his contract, possibly with Warner Brothers, that just says like the movies are the thing. You cannot do anything with those
Right.
characters
I guess that
beyond.
that makes sense. He'd be worried, like, they'll make a sequel, like, in the comics.
Yeah, yeah, and it would water down his story, and I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was stuff like that that was tricky. But I was lucky enough that I kind of was able to make a story that worked for it. Like the fact that Batman's flashing in and out and is kind of out of control through the
Yes.
multiverse. I could be like, okay, we'll at least get like a cool Jorge drawing of Keaton Batman before he gets
Before we have
zapped
to
away
cut
again.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really proud of that issue. Like I think it worked out quite well because it was a good mix too between Mike Hawthorne and Jorge's art, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, a nice way to celebrate Batman and kind of show all the sides of him and wrap up the that Batman of Gotham arc. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I felt good about that.
It's a dope issue. It was a really fun story. It was one of those things where reading it was like, "Is he in a tube and he thinks he's in the multiverse, or is this an actual multiverse story?"
Oh yeah, it's a real one. As real as it gets.
Yeah.
My only worry, I remember like we sent the comic to the press, and I was just like, oh man, like I don't know how people are gonna react to the 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 bat anti shark repellent gag.
Great moment.
And
Yeah.
it worked out. It worked out. And like, yeah, I got a lot of compliments from pros and fellow creators about it. And then when I did my kind of comic signing tour, like that was brought up a lot. Like
Yeah.
people really dug it. So I'm like, oh, thank God, because like that could have gone totally the other way. Like, oh, you're making fun of Batman.
It's
Like,
like,
no, man, that's
that's
Batman.
that's
He's the most
canon.
prepared Batman right there,
Exactly.
Adam West.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you get a little callback to it in 140, I believe, where it's
yeah,
like, yeah. Uh, let's talk about your comic tour, because I
yeah.
imagine that, that was a really, like, fun experience that you don't get to talk about too much outside of friends and family.
Yeah.
How did that go? Like, what was the impetus behind, like, you making a tour to see, your fellow comic people?
Well, the main driving force behind it was the fact that I learned to drive.
No.
So my pandemic project was learning to drive because my wife and I moved out west and we were kind of in a forested island area. And it's like, well, we need to know how to drive. So,
Yeah.
so her her stepdad took me out every day and taught me, and I loved it. Turns out I love driving.
Yeah, it's a
For
lot of fun. Yeah, it's a joy that many of us as teenagers discover.
Yeah, I never had that.
What was
I never had the reason to drive because I was the youngest in my class, so all my friends already had their licenses and were driving around, so they would just
right?
pick me up and it was fine. My girlfriend at the time was like, she was a mechanic, like she loved cars, like she was, yeah, she was a powerful woman. Her nickname was the Wall. I loved her so much, but she could hold me in her arms like a child. But but yeah, so she loved to drive. She didn't care the fact I didn't drive. She loved picking me up and going places.
Yeah,
Um, and so yeah, and then I moved to Toronto, and the subway system was like great. So like
yeah,
I never needed to drive. So like, but once I got a taste for it, I'm just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I
yeah.
remember like the first time, like after I got my license, the first time in a car alone. I'd never been in a car alone
No, it's true.
where
Yeah,
you can
that's a
just
good point.
crank the tunes, you can put down the windows, like there's no one to
Yeah,
answer to, and you just decide to go somewhere and you just go. Like it was
yeah.
such a great feeling. And so almost immediately after I got my license, I said to my wife, I'm like, I'm going to drive across Canada. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, I'm not. I'm like, well, fair enough. Um, and I was like, well, I'll do it right. I'll do it as a comic tour, like a
Tour.
signing tour. And so I
Yeah.
put aside like a month and a bit, and I did like 16, 17 jobs. Like
Wow.
it was wild. I put so many miles on the car, and I just did it on my own. It was awesome, and like
Yeah.
the best part was just like, I don't know, like I hadn't really done conventions and things since the
No,
pandemic.
you swore off conventions, during the pandemic. You were like, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm good on
Yeah,
on conventions from now on."
yeah,
Except
and
for, like,
then
maybe local ones.
yeah, and then I did this tour, and like and then I got to see human beings again, and have them come out to the shop, and like in the big cities it was big and impressive. Like there were like hundreds of people coming out to the shops, and it was really exciting. And the smaller places were maybe a dozen people,
Yeah.
but like uh, but it was all a positive experience.
Right.
Like I think I met over the whole tour, I met thousands of people. I think I only had like one kind of awkward encounter, and
Hmm.
even then it was like a kid with kind of clearly had some issues. I was like,
Sure,
oh,
yeah.
okay, let me just talk you through the problems you have, and like that was, but that was it. Everything else was just like joy. Like people
Yeah.
love reading comics, um and that was reinvigorating. It kind of like sparked me back to idea of doing conventions again. And yeah, seeing human beings, because I'm not, I've said to this to you before, like I'm not really online much.
That's
Like
right.
I got my Substack and that's it. I don't like search my name out or anything. I
Yeah.
don't go on Twitter. Um, so yeah, so I've just been putting comics out into a void, weirdly, and
Yeah.
actually seeing human beings. I'm like, oh yeah, and bringing me the physical copies. Oh yeah, I made this. That's fun. I'll sign it. Sure, why not?
Right?
Yeah, yeah. It's been great.
Yeah, no, there's something to be said for, like, the physical nature. I remember during the pandemic, I had, first of all, just, full disclosure, I had an unprecedentedly positive experience during the pandemic. The channel did very well. I was very prosperous.
Wow,
It was really
wow.
nice. It was just a nice time for me. I know, I was just like, I really earned.
Sal is pro
Yeah,
pandemic.
I
You
was
heard it here,
I
everyone.
earned right off the backs of COVID-19, thank you. But,
Yeah,
but it was one of those things where, like, we did like, I was part of this online con where people came in and talked, and people were just so hungry for connection, and I was like, "This is
yeah,
really nice. Maybe we don't need, like, this is kinda cool. Like, I don't really need to go anywhere," and then I went to San Diego Comic-Con that next year, like, when it came back,
yeah,
and the vibe was, like, electric. People were just
yeah,
so hungry to be in the same space with each other,
yeah,
and, it was, I was like, "Oh, yeah, no. This cannot be replaced."
yeah,
Like, the
yeah,
experience of working with people, even just connecting with people you wanna work with and being like, "Hey, we're in the same space," as opposed
yeah,
to sending off an email and being like, "Hey, we should work together." It's
yeah, yeah.
completely
They're
different.
very different, and like it hasn't quite bounced back. Like I think that's one of the issues a lot of comic shops are finding now is like
Yeah.
over the pandemic they switched to delivery, a lot of pull files and stuff. But now there's just not the foot traffic. Like no one's actually walking into the shop, seeing new product, getting excited, talking to people. Like it's very much just a transactional buy the thing that you've always bought and that's
Hmm.
it. It's
Yeah.
very hard, I think, for to launch something new now because yeah, people aren't walking into the shop. They're not going to see it. They're not going to flip
No,
through it
it's
and be
true.
like, "Oh, that's cool." So, talking to some retailers, like that's definitely been an issue. And I noticed that on my tour as well. Like it was kind of shocking the number of times where a retailer would say to me like, "Oh, I haven't seen that customer in like years."
Hmm.
Like people that came in for the signing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, one of the stops was like this kid came in and everyone was like, "We hadn't seen him at all over the pandemic. I don't think he's left his house." Like,
Oh.
like, and he came out for this. I'm like, "Oh, that's a that's an honor," but also,
Yeah.
man, oh man, like I forgot about that part. A lot of people just aren't walking
Aren't
in.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that's actually an issue with, my local shop. They were a, like, foot traffic shop, and then during the pandemic, the town didn't give them a break on rent, so they moved it. They closed
Yeah,
it down, and they moved it, like, mostly online, but also, like, in a different location that was more in tune with, like, transactional. You got your pull order, you come in, you leave.
yeah,
And he was thrilled to reopen, like, back in that old town with the foot traffic, like, being like,
yeah,
"We," and I was like, "Dude, you have a new like, you have a whole new ecosystem. Like,
yeah.
you've been in this ecosystem for, like, 3 years," and he's like, "Yeah, no, but I need, like, the foot traffic is that important."
Yeah, yeah, it's the only way to grow the customer base, right? To
Mhm.
actually like put them in front of stuff and discuss things with them and like hand sell. Like my local shop here, the Beguiling, they're masters at the hand sell. Like
Yeah.
even me walking as a creator, like the guy who works there, Alex, he's like, "Hey, I think you'd really be interested in this." He would pull a book off the shelf and like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I actually am." And
Yeah.
it's impossible to walk out without something.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, without actually being in front of people, it's a different
It's
thing.
true. It's tougher to be like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. Like, I saw on, like, Twitter or I was recommended a book. I should add that digitally to my pull list." Like, that's never gonna happen. Like,
No,
this well, and that's just, like, the translation of clickover where it's like, it's never gonna like, going from a place to a place online,
yeah.
the loss is, like, astronomical, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it
So
really is. Part of my reason for like doing the tour as well was like to bring people into the shops, and I kept stressing to the comic shops before I got there. I'm just like, look, like you can advertise this as the guy who writes Batman is
Right.
coming to town. Like,
Yeah.
for me and you, maybe that doesn't mean much, but like for the public at large, it's just like, oh, like that's
Oh,
wild. Like he's
yeah.
gonna be in Winnipeg. Like what? Like Thunder Bay, and I did a few interviews here and there. Like there were certain shops that realize that and kind of jump on it. I'm like, oh yeah, like getting people in the shop, they'll buy other things when they're here. Like maybe they'll become return customers.
Absolutely.
Um, that was good. And then there were shops that just didn't do that, and you could kind of see the effect of that. I'm like, okay, all right, you just this is your business.
Mhm.
I'm not here to like tell you how to do it, but
No, totally. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it's
I'm just a
wild.
visitor. That's
Yeah,
really cool. And then that brought you to New York again. So you were
yeah.
like, "Alright, well, that was fun. I guess I'll go to the, like, most densely populated city in,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I went from like living in the woods and not interacting with human beings to New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild because that was like my first show with. I signed up with Comic Sketch Art, and they're
Yes.
the guys that kind of do all the conventions. And partly it was because like I needed a work visa to properly do the stuff in America.
Yeah.
Like my Canadian credentials just haven't been enough to like convince America to allow me to do comic conventions. I'm like, all
Is
right,
that a new development? Because I wanna say that because I used to visit Canada once a year for, like, a good 4 or 5 years, in the, like, late '90s, early 2000s, and it feels like I used to only need an American driver's license to be
yeah.
able to, like, go to Canada, but I may have needed a passport as well now that I think about it, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think like around 2019, like there was definitely a lot of crackdown of people coming from overseas and from Canada, and I talked to a few kind of writers and artists that have a bit more difficulty. Like my thing was just like basically I always get taken to the back room, and
Oh,
I'd be there for like an hour. Like I'd always have to add time to my
yeah.
schedule just
Well,
to
I
be
know
like,
they're
all
gonna
right,
pull me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and like they always let me through, but I'm just like my anxiety over it was just too much. So I did it proper. I got my sponsor, which is Comic Sketch Art. So like
Yep.
I can travel to the states now, which is nice.
Good.
So yeah, I've got like a relatively full schedule coming up of comic conventions, which is nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's night and day well, I don't think I'm gonna do them anymore too. Well, now I
I
have a
know.
schedule of conventions. So that's great.
I did a lot. That's the thing. Like back when Sex Criminals kind of launched,
Yes.
and there was that whole wave. Like, um, yeah, like I'd never been invited places before. And so just the
Hmm.
fact that like someone was like, "Hey, we'll fly you to a city and we'll put you in a hotel and you just have to show up and make money." And I'm like, "What?" Like,
I'll
sure.
do that. Yeah.
That sounds
That's a
amazing.
no-brainer. Yeah.
And, it definitely burnt out over it. And then when there was like the American complications, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But
Totally.
but now, especially like signing up with Comic Sketch Art, they handle stuff for me.
Yeah,
Like
I
one
think
of
you
like
yeah.
yeah, sorry,
Oh,
one
you
of the
and
things.
I were talking about that where you were like, this is great." Like
Yeah.
like, because if you are a independent creator, and I don't wanna, speak for you or for independent creators out there who go to conventions, but, like, when you table at a convention, like, you pay for the table space,
Hmm.
and then they just go like, "Good luck." Like, they
Yeah.
don't put a blanket over your table, they don't build your scaffolding or give you signage. Like, the best thing that you can be given is a, like, maybe heavy cardstock that says your name on it, and it may or may
Maybe.
not be spelled wrong,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Even now, when I sign a contract to do a show, it's like, what we will give you a 6 foot table and two
mhm.
chairs. And I'm like, all
Yeah,
right, that's
2
all I
chairs
need.
is a luxury item now, like,
Yeah.
usually 1,
But it's
and you're
funny,
like,
like
"Okay."
I always love doing the shows, like in terms of like the setup and stuff, because like I'd have stupid banners and I enjoy
Yes.
doing sketches for people. Um, but like it, kind of broke me a little bit. Like years ago, back when uh, I was friends with Warren Ellis,
Mm.
before his
The
fall
the
from grace.
troubles.
before the
Yeah.
troubles. Um, well, a bunch of us were friends with him, and like I think it was like myself and Matt Fraction. We were saying like, oh yeah, we're going to go to like Rose City, and we're gonna this weekend and table together, and and I think Warren said, oh, off to off to the county fair to sell your jams and jellies again, boys. I'm like, oh, that phrase stuck in our head all weekend. Jams and
Yeah.
jellies. As we got there, we're pulling the cart full of our books and we
Yeah.
putting them on the table. We're putting our stickers on everything, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just selling our jams and jellies. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't change. Like no matter how high or low you are
Yep, you still
in
have to
the
get your
industry, you still gotta put your jams and jellies out and write
That's
down your
right.
prices and put them on there. And
That's right. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
part of the fun, but it definitely like it kind of hit me like, oh my god, like I'm getting old, I'm getting tired. But
Yeah.
it's the beauty of Comic Cons, right? Like one of the
Mhm.
coolest things I remember, like at San Diego Comic Con, like I was at my table and I was like looking across, and like at a booth was Mike Mignola,
Yeah.
just chatting with people. I'm just like what other industry can you just like walk down a row and like talk to like industry legends and like new
Yes.
creators and like and they're all just on equal footing. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Equally accessible. No, I
Mhm.
remember the first New York Comic Con was the first Comic Con I'd ever been to, was, like, the first New York Comic Con I'd ever been to. So, like,
Yeah.
maybe year 2 of New York Comic Con. I'm walking down the aisles, and, they had finally worked out that people actually wanna go to this thing, so it moved from, like, 1 room and 1 basement to multiple areas.
Wow.
And so they had all these legends, like, in one very narrow aisle.
Mhm.
And I'm walking, and I'm talking to my who would be my wife and my friend, and we're talking. And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so and so," and that's I don't wanna drop names because, it's we have our name today, but, this
You can drop names. You can say who you saw.
it's like people like Peter David and, J. Michael
Yeah.
Straczynski and stuff like that, and I'm like, "This is so and so, this," she's like, "Do you wanna go say hi?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck no." Like, I just wanna look at them.
Yeah. Just
Like,
stare
I
at
didn't
them like
have
a creep.
yeah, I had nothing to offer them, because 'cause they're like, most of them are also writers, so it's like, "Hi, I'm Peter David. I have a table with nothing on it for you to gaze upon." Like,
Yeah.
maybe like, nowadays they actually do with books,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
back in the day it was like, I don't know. You want me to write you a paragraph? There you go. What an idiot
uh,
you are. Yeah.
I remember walking around comic conventions like with my dumb sketchbook and like just
Yes.
running up to somebody and getting like a quick doodle.
Yeah.
I got David Mazzucchelli to do a little doodle, but I didn't even really know who he was at the time. I was like
Right.
18 or something. I'm just like, oh wow, this guy's stuff seems cool. So he just
Mhm.
did a little drawing of like just a guy in a painter's hat, like painting the planet Earth. Like it was just like such a weird sketch to have.
Yeah, that's really
Like
cool though.
if I was smart and forward thinking, I'd be like, could you do a little Batman? Like
Yeah.
sell that for
Yeah. But,
2,000.
he might not have gotten it. Might even he would have looked at your cross and been like, "Batman, kid,
It's
go away."
possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that weird thing where it's like he wasn't that much older than me, really.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like
That's interesting.
it's a strange thing once you realize like, oh yeah, like the guys I was looking up to when I was like 18, 19 were probably like 23, 24.
Right.
So I was like, oh, we have 5 years difference. Like it's very strange.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
other thing is, like, not recognizing anybody because for the longest time, they didn't have, like, their faces in any publications or social media,
Yeah.
so it's like, I don't know if that is who I think it is.
Well, I was saying this to you just before we recorded, but like being Canadian,
Yes.
TV Ontario had a show called Prisoners of Gravity, which was like a comic themed show where like the theme was basically like a guy in space on like a some spacecraft,
Right?
um, and he was just kind of like catching up on comics or something, and then like he would do these like weird portal interviews with comic creators. So I knew the faces of a lot of them just through that because he would have like
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman and Jill Thompson. I think Alan Moore like was on it at some point.
Yeah.
Like he just knew everyone.
It's
So
like,
I was
who
able to recognize a few people, and also there's that weird thing at comic conventions where you can sometimes recognize an artist based on their art.
Right.
Because like I remember the first show I did, I was big into Shade the Changing Man when I was
Okay.
at Vertigo, and I never know how to pronounce the last name, but Chris Bachalo.
Yeah, I always think it's Bocciolo, but that's because I'm a Jersey boy who just says who butchers everybody's name.
I mean, it could be Bacalo. I have no idea.
I've heard Bocciolo. Yeah, I don't know.
But and that was one. Sorry, that was my big memory of meeting David Mazzucchelli. Is like how to pronounce his name. He told me.
Mazzucchelli?
He
Mazzucchelli?
told me it's like pizza and zucchini.
Okay, so it's Mazzucchelli.
Mazzucchelli, yeah.
That's actually great to know. Thank you,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's
That
I'll do
stuck
that
with me.
too. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
Stepan Sajic has never corrected me. He has only
yeah.
said, "You're close."
And just leaves it at that. Yeah, that's nice.
That's it. I'm like,
And it was like, oh, Chris Metallo, like, I remember seeing him at a convention. I'm like, "Oh, that's the guy who draws Shade the Changing Man because he
yeah.
looks like Shade the Changing Man." He looked like his drawings. Like, kind of
I
like
had no
almost like a
idea.
he did these crosshatch nose, and his nose was kind of like red, and his hair was a little bit big and wild. I'm just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, you look like one of your drawings."
Oh, that's so funny. I never
Yeah,
thought about that. That's interesting. Yeah, I
yeah.
guess they wouldn't need to do that because it's like you're just sitting at an easel all day drawing whatever comes up or whatever you have in an art book or,
Yeah.
whatever in the mirror.
Artists tend to draw themselves because they use themselves as reference. Like Sean Phillips is very easy to spot based on his drawings. Like he is like
Yeah,
90% of the characters in his books.
right.
Yeah.
It's funny, you mentioning Prisoners of Gravity, I'd never heard of this before in my life, and I wanna see every show, and I'm so thankful that it is on YouTube and you can watch all of Prisoners of Gravity.
Oh, is it?
But
Okay, yeah, I
yeah,
didn't even know. Yeah,
yeah,
I should
I
probably do
didn't
the
know.
same.
I'm like, "What?" Like, this concept of, like, there being a kind of like, I don't know, SCTV kind of Space Ghost Coast to Coast meets Mystery Science Theater 3000 show. I'm like, I want to watch this now. Like,
Yeah.
especially because there's a lament I always have about like when we're talking about like legends and old Comic Cons and stuff like that. Now you can film an entire viral show on your phone without any like training.
Yeah.
But the legends of yesteryear, if they were lucky, some like rich punk had a giant camcorder that had shitty audio,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
was like the closest we could get to capturing these iconic legends and their thoughts and
Yeah.
in real time because like one of those like things that I miss now in publications, particularly in like trades and hardcovers, is the forward and the afterward. It's something that is it's a lost art. I think it's so important to get what the artist was thinking at the exact time when the book was coming out
Yeah.
because time and history and hindsight always morphs that belief. So it's like you want to know what people were thinking and doing when they were making their art,
Mhm.
not what they think about the art's impact on the culture 25, 30 years later.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Or at the
that's
very least being
interesting.
able to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
But in our, like, media obsessed world today, it's like, I'm not gonna read a forward. Give me an interview that's, like, maybe 80 seconds long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out Prison Gravity again then. No, I know it's on YouTube
Yeah.
because yeah, maybe they don't hold up, but I got a feeling they do.
I feel like
Uh,
they're gonna be different. Yeah, it's
As
gonna be
I
awesome.
mentioned this to you before we started recording as well, that like it was the first time I saw Jill Thompson because she was being
Yes.
interviewed about Sandman, and
Right.
I immediately fell in love with her.
Right, of course, as you
And
would.
when I was like 18, maybe 19, I totally waited in line to get her to sign my Sandman T-shirt and books. And I was like, I was a full-on Canadian goth, so I had like the black trench coat and the ankh necklace, but I had the hockey hair.
Nice.
It was very
Love it.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like a late bloomer, so I was very short and had no facial hair at all.
Awesome.
And, yeah, I got up there and she signed my stuff and I complimented her work and, then I asked her out on a date. I was like, what do you
No.
wanna do tonight?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything tonight. Sure. Yeah, sounds good." I'm like, "Ugh." It was it was it was the greatest moment of my life until, she realized the folly and, and backed out before the
Oh,
time came, which was entirely fair, and I
yeah.
reminded her of this. Uh,
Did you?
yeah, yeah.
It has come up in
We
the
we
years?
we did a comic convention. I think there were only a few American guests. We were in Moscow,
Oh,
and it was like just before like I think the 2016 election. Maybe it was like a very interesting time. We were in Red Square, just being like, I don't know, should we even be talking here?
yeah.
Um, and yeah, while we were on that trip, I told her, yeah, when I was like 19, I totally asked you out on a date. It was very embarrassing.
Did she remember?
She I think she pretended to vaguely remember, but
Oh, that's
no,
sweet.
you're not really gonna remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I love that so,
I was not
who
the one who got away, you know?
No,
It's not gonna stick in her head like,
no,
"Oh,
of
if only
course, yeah.
I'd agreed to go out with that
How our lives would have changed. What
pimple-faced nerd."
but she did say yes initially, so
She did.
what changed, and how did she reject you?
Well, okay, I'm not going to name any names because there was another comic artist involved. But
Mm.
there was a comic artist. I was there with my buddy Ben. My buddy Ben was a little bit weird dude, and he was really into this one comic, um, drawn by like this new talent. And so we went to see that guy first,
Mhm.
and that guy made fun of my friend for 5-10 minutes straight in front of his buddy. He was just like a
Wow.
total asshole and
Okay.
like too cool for school,
Mm.
and it was awkward and horrible to watch. And then
Yeah,
we went to Jill Thompson, and I asked her out. She said yes, and we were doing a lot better at that point.
definitely.
And so my buddy wanted to go back to the original guy's table and be like
Oh, yeah?
try and make it a better second encounter.
Okay.
And while he was talking to him, he dropped the nugget that I had just asked Jill Thompson out. Like that was going to give us some cool points with this guy.
Totally.
And I remember the guy just went, "Oh, really? This guy? Interesting. Sure." And then when we walked away from him, we saw him get up and just like walk over
Just
to Jill
beeline.
Thompson. And I was just like, "No, this isn't happening." And then later on, when I went back to her table, she apologized and said a friend reminded her there's a group dinner that night.
Oh, sure.
And so I always remember that. Always remember that guy. My friend always remembered that guy. And
Yeah.
then flash forward like 15 years later, and me and my buddy share a comic studio, and the phone rings, and it's that guy. It's that
Okay.
comic artist, and he asked my friend if there were any openings in the studio. My friend said no and hung up on him.
Oh,
So my friend got like
sweet
he
revenge.
got a sweet revenge, and it's like anything. Later on, we saw him maybe at a convention or a party or whatever, and my friend reminded him of our original encounter, and
Yeah.
the guy just apologized profusely because
Oh,
he's like I was like 20, I was like
right.
21, like my ego was out of control. I was still in art school and drawing comics for like Marvel. Like
Yeah.
I was a dick, and I was a dick to everyone, and I feel bad about it. So it was like
Yeah.
it was a nice kind of full circle thing, and kind of reminds you like
Yeah.
everyone's kind of dealing with stuff.
It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Oh, man. Is that, that's so
such a
freaking cool.
weird thing. Yeah.
I have never that world, that is such a closed door to today. Like, there's no way I think anyone makes those kinds of connections in Comic Cons today where it's like, "Hey, what are you doing later?" Like, that's
Well,
not gonna
you
happen.
never know. You
That's
never
true.
know. You see, I mean, it's usually
It's
alcohol
usually
fueled
other.
from what I can see, like at
Sure.
most of these shows. And as one of my rules is I do not drink at comic conventions. I've done
It's a
it a
good
couple
rule.
of times, um, like at the Eisner's one year. I definitely tied one on.
Mhm.
Um, and like if I'm just going out with just like a couple of buddies and we'll have a drink or whatever
That's
far away from
cool.
the convention
Yeah.
center, it's fine. But like I abstain just because like I see so many people make horrendous mistakes.
Yeah.
So, which
Yeah.
which always stuns me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna know if the comic studio that you created with your friend is
Mhm.
any, like, kind of, like, influence over the, like, at least visual, if not, like, thematic depiction of the comic studio that is, built in a public, domain.
Yeah, yes and no. It's kind of like my ideal studio. Like
Yeah.
the studio I started with my friends was called Raid. It was Raid Studios, which Ramon Perez runs now, and like Marcus Toe's in there with him, and there's like 14 people in that studio now. It's like its own thing. But
Yeah.
at the time, it was just four of us, and it was just a mess. Like we were like in our early 20s. It was just like garbage everywhere, and like comics scattered, and weird masks and things. And yeah,
Uh-huh.
uh, it was me now. Like I'm a lot tidier. Like I kind of need things to be a bit tidier.
Yeah.
So so my idealized comic studio is kind of the one that's in public domain because it's like it's clean, a nice brick wall, big windows, like a
Yeah.
nicely organized, nice little kitchen area. And also like if I drew the studio the way I was living, the book would never come out because
Because
like
you have to draw too much stuff,
just too
just
much stuff.
piling on
Like
top of
so
itself, yeah.
that's part of it as well. Nice clean studio is a lot easier to draw than a real studio.
Yeah.
And yeah, how things go. Yeah.
Did you, when you did scale down and eventually move the studio, or Zdarsky into what is, effectively your house,
Yeah.
um, what were some of the, like, sad sacrifices you had to leave behind? Because I know I don't work in comics, but I do work adjacent to comics and go to comic
Mhm.
conventions, comic book stores. My place is choked. This is a studio itself, and it's choked with toys, action figures, things I always wanted that I didn't have room for. I've got, as you could
Yeah.
probably see behind me, I have like a stack of Bloodlines cards. Like I have
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
I definitely don't need that I'm like, I finally have the space, and now I'm like, I
Yeah.
need to get rid of like 2/3 of the stuff I
Yeah, yeah, it's funny how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, freedom, horrible, horrible freedom.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, leaving the studio was hard, um, mostly just from a social standpoint. Like, it was just great to
Yeah.
go into a place where all of us were working, and we all had different kind of disciplines. And
Projects
like,
and
yeah, some of us were illustrators and animators, and um, some only a couple of us were really kind of more into comics. But yeah, like there's a joy, and I think you can only really have that in like your 20s and 30s, really, like because the older you get, like I talked to a lot of my friends from that period, and we always talk about like, we should get another studio together, we should do that again. But then it's just like, oh my god, that'd be so much work, and like, can I share a space with someone else again? Like your world gets a
yeah.
lot smaller the older you get. Like, it's easier to kind of go in with a bunch of guys who are, a lot of us were just strangers to each other,
Yeah.
and we just became friends. But like, it's easier to kind of jump in, blindfolded, both feet, into something like that when you're younger.
Absolutely.
And now that you're older, it's just like, oh my god, like, will their stuff integrate with my stuff? And like,
Yeah.
I need my private time. But
Mhm,
yeah, I
mhm.
do miss the kind of the collaboration, and like, there were definitely points where one of us would be in over our heads with a deadline, and the others would kind of chip in and help. And like,
Aw.
yeah, that was nice.
Was Perez working on Kookaburra back then?
He was doing butternut squash. He
Okay.
came in. He came into the studio kind of in the last few months when it was like all the original members, and that's how we just kind of inherited it. He didn't drive us out. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, he was a delight, and he's still a delight. And like, it's cool to see that studio still going strong. Like, they set up
Yeah.
pretty big at conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a very different thing from what we had. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
he's
I
smarter than we were.
I know that name only, well, mainly because, like, I was really plugged into, like, the webcomic scene back in the day, and I was
Okay,
like,
yeah,
so I remember coming across Kookaburra and being like, "I'd never seen anything that looks like this." I was like, "Holy
yeah,
crap." Like, what a distinct and interesting style, and then I remember hearing
yeah,
about Tales of Sand, and I'm like, this is toppers."
yeah. He's amazing, and like, it's why I ended up doing Stillwater with him,
Yeah.
just because like, I'm like, oh my god, he can draw anything. Like, yeah, and he's fast, so that worked out
Yeah.
well.
That's always
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So what's the plan for now? Like, what is 2024 looking like for Chip Zdarsky?
I'm just going door to door and selling these.
Well, I mean, I feel like you don't have to do that anymore, given that you have such a reach on your YouTube channel and your Substack, and
My YouTube channel. I posted like 5 videos over the past 4 years.
you got 7K on that video, by the way. I should
Oh,
say,
hey,
like
all
that's pretty
right,
good. Like, and that
cool.
thumbnail game is on point. I
Thank
know.
you, thank you.
I thought I was being so funny and original when I was like, "Hey, man, that thumbnail's great," and then I saw like 1,000 comments that were like, "Great thumbnail," and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, I really nailed that aesthetic, I think.
completely
Um, yeah, I mean, oh my God, yeah, 2024 is it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, Batman's still like kind of the full time job. I just started scripting issues 9 and 10 of Public Domain, so
nice.
I've got that drawn up to issue 8, so that's going to start coming out again. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think what else that I can say. Like, Avengers
Right.
Twilight's coming out
Yes.
finally,
Oh
which is
man.
nice.
Can
Yeah,
you pitch Avengers Twilight a little bit, because I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
after I want to say it was it New York or San Diego when they announced Avengers Twilight.
I think maybe they soft announced it at San Diego.
Yeah.
Marvel tends to be like, "Oh, there's an Avengers logo and Chip
Yeah.
Zdarsky's name," and then everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to be writing Avengers," and then they get disappointed when it's not that.
Uh-huh.
So
Mhm.
it's like, uh, I'm not a fan of that strategy.
No.
Um, yeah, New York they showed more art, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's myself and Daniel Acuna, uh, who is like a master. Like, he's
Yeah.
fully drawn and colored these pages. Um,
Nice.
it's a project we've been working on since 2019.
Oh shit.
These 6 issues, and it's like it's a future Avengers story. It's kind of like our definitive take on what happens to the Avengers kind of down the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to give too much away. Just yeah,
Totally.
it's big and fun, and Daniel's design work is gorgeous on it, and it's it's very weird. because again, I wrote in 2019, which is pre-pandemic,
Oh my
and
god,
so
it's
there's
true.
a lot of stuff in there that's um, feels weirdly predictive
Mhm.
from that point. Um, and now from this point, looks like I'm just copying history. It's very
I
it's
do, yeah.
it's gonna be interesting to see when it comes out. Like if people think that I'm like prescient or just like grabbing stuff from the headlines of a couple of years ago.
Right.
Well, yeah, we'll see. It's a
It's
weird
dope.
one.
I'm
Yeah,
excited. I haven't seen you really, like, put your stamp on that brand, and I'm kinda, like, hyped to see which characters you picked and which
yeah, yeah,
what the depictions are and what the Marvel Universe, like, the greater Marvel Universe looks like as a
yeah,
result. Like, that's gonna be fun.
yeah, yeah. It's I'm a big fan of those kind of stories. Like
Yeah. Like, well,
the
you
Hulk,
spearheaded the
Future
friggin'
Imperfect was like
oh,
kind of
yeah.
my jam. Obviously Days of Future Past, Old Man Logan, Kingdom Come, like all these kind of like these kind of
Elseworlds-esque, like, Marvel stories. Well,
yeah,
you pioneered the resurgence of What If,
yeah.
and
Well,
then they didn't do anything with
and
it.
then they didn't do anything with it. Hey,
You made a whole logo that they didn't use. It was
yeah,
great.
yeah, 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 yeah. That was a bit of a weird period.
Yeah.
Um,
Still
yeah,
great
I mean,
though. Spider Shadow,
yeah,
pick it up. It's in the omnibus.
it's in the omnibus, so you can just pick it up all in one go.
Yeah.
This thing's so heavy. Um, yeah, yeah, that was a weird situation.
Yeah.
And I don't fault Marvel for it. They had like kind of other plans, and like
Yeah.
I think they had a lot of projects lined up, and they just didn't quite hit.
Mhm.
We're wrapping up New Burn
Yep.
with issue 16. Jacob just sent in thumbnails for 15.
Nice.
He's like just like a marvel, that guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because like we're building up to this big kind of finale, which is exciting. And then
Yeah.
yeah, we brought back Captara through the Substack and printing it through
That's
Image,
right.
so we're wrapping that up as well and going to put out some collections. So that's nice. It's nice to kind of see things end and then you can get a nice proper collection of it all.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then you can kind of take a breath, take survey of what your priorities are and then go, do I have another story to tell? Do I want to
yeah,
focus on this, that, and the other thing?
yeah. I've got a
It's
few
exciting.
more kind of independent things lined up for 2024, 2025.
Great. Okay.
Too early to talk about them, but yeah, it's
Gotcha.
exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Uh, Looking forward to it, man. I'm loving your Batman. I'm loving the omnibus that's coming.
What
And you
omnibus?
are
This
still
omnibus?
yeah, the omnibus that it's available in the comments down below. Pick up a copy, folks, because it is worth the price of admission.
And even yeah, very good. And even underneath, it's got the cool Mark Bagley spreads
Oh,
from Life Story.
oh, that's awesome.
It's a good looking package.
Yeah. It's so frustrating, the beautiful hardcovers that have, like, this awesome dust jacket, and then underneath it, it has an even more exciting, print, and you're like, "Oh, man, what do I display? I guess
I
I gotta
know.
get 2 of them."
With novels and things like that, I always get rid of the dust jacket. But
I used to do that all the time. I used to throw them away, and then people would get mad at me, like, people that were, like, inheriting my book collection, like my wife. It's like, "Where's the dust jacket?" And I'm like, "The cover's cooler."
yeah, like,
She's like
are we really protecting it from dust? Is that a big issue?
yeah, like, what are we, what is it, 2015
Makes
in
no
Back to the
sense.
Future 2?
Yeah,
That's the reference I'm making.
that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, Spider-Man Omnibus, collect all my spectacular Spider-Man, Spider Shadow, and Life Story.
Yeah.
Uh, 960 something pages. It's
Now, do you think 2024, 2025 maybe we'll see a cause for a volume 2?
no. Oh, Jesus Christ. Um, no, I mean that's the Batman of it all, right? Like
Yeah.
as long as I'm doing Batman, it's kind of hard to. I've had this discussion before with Marvel and DC because like Marvel kept offering me stuff. I was
Yeah.
just like, well, I can't. Like I know everything that's happening in DC Comics
Right.
through to 2025. Like I can't go to your story meetings. If
Right,
I
you
hear you,
recused yourself. Yeah.
I did, yeah. Because if I hear them pitch something, like similar to what's happening in DC. Like, what do I do? Do I tell them you can't do it because DC's doing it, or do I go tell DC like maybe we need
That's
to
what they're
change our
doing.
plans? Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a weird position. Like no one seemed to care, but except for me.
That's
Like
fair.
they
Well,
they
yeah,
like
but,
me
like
well enough. They know I'm not gonna like just take secret
yeah,
information and screw over the
you're a
next
good
person.
fella. Yeah.
But it just puts me in that position of knowing it is hard enough.
Well, and how can you prevent yourself from letting it influence your decision making?
Yeah.
Like you're just, you're watching them, you go back to DC, they're making decisions and you're just sitting there just letting them make them. And you're
Yeah.
like, I don't know about that. And they're like, what does that
Maybe
mean?
you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Oh,
Yeah. It's
and
it's so hard.
Yeah, we did not talk at all about Daredevil, and I'm sad to
Oh
say, but,
yeah,
it was awesome, and you ended it, and it's a phenomenal run.
it's
Congratulations on that.
done. Yeah, it was a weird feeling to be done.
Yeah.
Even weirder feeling to pick up issue 1 of the next run. But like,
Right?
I was so happy to do it because like Saladin and Aaron were doing such a great job, and like
Yeah.
I had a lot of conversations with Saladin before he took over. Um, so it made me more excited to kind of see what he was doing. And
Yeah.
I've said this before elsewhere, but like working on Daredevil was the longest period of my life where I didn't read a Daredevil comic.
Hmm.
Like, and it's
Yeah,
such a,
oh, because
it's a
that was the period when you were the one writing it, so
yeah, yeah, it's the only kind of problem that one person in the world has at any given moment
yeah, is they
that they
can't
can't
read
be a
Daredevil,
Daredevil
like,
reader because they're writing it.
that's
But it's
awesome.
true. Like I've read that book almost monthly since I was like 17, 18. Like it's
Yeah,
like my favorite title. Um, and so like all of a sudden I wasn't a Daredevil reader. I was writing it,
yeah.
and now I get to be a Daredevil reader again, which is really exciting because I can like I pick up the issues. I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. I can't wait to see what happens next issue.
Yeah,
Which is a fun
yeah,
feeling again. Yeah. I know there's
awesome.
some writers who can't read the books after they've left them.
Really?
Yeah, and like I've had more than one say that it feels like um, seeing your girlfriend dating someone new.
Yeah, I can understand that motivation, but, like, I imagine I don't know, I feel like
But it's either one way or the other. Like if it's like if you see your girlfriend dating someone new who is better for her than you were, that
right,
sucks. If you see her
yes,
dating someone new
and
who
he
is worse
sucks,
for her, like that
right?
also sucks. Like there's no
Yeah.
real good thing there.
No, it's
Um,
true. Yeah, the
unless you can just divorce yourself from it like I can. Like I'm just like, oh no, I just love reading it. Like
I mean, that's the healthiest response, like, it's
yeah.
just, going like, "I'm just glad that the book's getting laid."
Good for them. Good for
Right.
them.
Good for them. Listen, I'm not having a dry spell. I'm doing okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
I got
I hope
Batman.
it's not just a one night stand for them. I hope they
Exactly,
get something ongoing out of
I'm
this.
hoping for the best, I
Yeah. If
saw
they
that
get at least like 10 issues.
exactly, that'd be a good
Yeah. Yeah.
run, alright.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
watching, everybody, and, of course, if you want more Chip Zdarsky, you can always go to Chip's, Substack and get,
Sure.
near incessant updates on what is happening in your world.
That doesn't sound good at all.
No, it's great. I just yeah,
Incessant. I don't
it's
think I was
almost
ever used incessant in a positive way,
flagrant,
Sal.
incessant, and, almost, just insatiable updates of,
That's
what's
true.
going on.
That's
It's
true.
great, but,
Awesome.
and if you do that, you'll get more, public, domain, which you should
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely be watching,
Yeah. Yeah.
reading.
We're starting to post issue 8 this week.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I read my, my post, so I'm up to it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for being here, folks. Thank you for being
See ya.
here, Chip.
See ya.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.